The last uncontacted tribe, North Sentinel Island, a place isolated from the rest of the world by both natural barriers and the deliberate efforts of its inhabitants, is one of the last places on Earth where humans continue to live much as they did thousands of years ago. For centuries, the island, located in the Bay of Bengal, part of India's Andaman and Nicobar Islands archipelago, has remained a mysterious and untouched land. To understand the history of North Sentinel Island and its indigenous people, we must first step back into the depths of time, long before the modern world encroached upon this pristine corner of the planet. The Sentinalese, as they are called, are believed to be one of the last tribes to have remained largely unchanged since the dawn of humanity. Anthropologists speculate that they have lived on North Sentinel for over 60,000 years, making them one of the most ancient and isolated human groups on Earth. In those early days, the island was probably not so isolated, but over time, changing sea levels and shifting climatic conditions may have contributed to their seclusion, making the people of North Sentinel one of the final holdouts of the Stone Age. With no written records or known external contact, their history is only understood through the occasional glimpses and discoveries made by outsiders, each of which, ironically, has been met with hostility. When the outside world first took notice of the Sentinelese, it was through the lens of the European colonial powers that began to map and exploit the vast reaches of the Indian Ocean. The first recorded sighting of North Sentinel Island by Europeans came in 1771, when a British surveyor, Captain John Ritchie, noted the island on a map. The British Empire was expanding its influence in India at the time, and the waters around the Andaman and Nicobar Islands were no exception. The Sentinelese, however, made it clear that they had no interest in engaging with outsiders. From the very beginning, they were known to react violently to any intruders, hurling arrows, spears, and other weapons at those who ventured too close to their shores. It was an early indication that these people had little desire to interact with the outside world. In the years that followed, expeditions from various European and later Indian authorities attempted to make contact with the tribe. The idea behind these expeditions varied, from wanting to learn about the tribe's way of life, to missionary efforts to convert them to Christianity, to more practical interests, such as wanting to trade or establish a peaceful coexistence. Yet each effort met with failure. The Sentinelese did not tolerate any form of intrusion. Those who dared approach the island often found themselves fleeing under the hail of arrows or worse. In one instance, in the late 19th century, a group of British officials sent to make peaceful contact with the tribe was killed. This only further cemented the Sentinelese reputation as a fiercely independent and protective group of people, one that would not tolerate any form of interference or interaction with the outside world. Despite these early failures, attempts to contact the tribe did not cease entirely. In the mid-20th century, the Indian government, now in control of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, made several more attempts to establish peaceful contact. The reasoning was simple: the Sentinelese were isolated from the outside world, and the government believed that they might be at risk from modern diseases or other threats. There was also a sense of curiosity about their way of life. But these well-meaning efforts were also rebuffed, often violently. On several occasions, anthropologists and government agents who ventured too close to the island found themselves under attack. The Sentinelese, as if fiercely aware of their own autonomy and the dangers of outsiders, continued to reject any form of contact, cementing their status as one of the last truly isolated tribes on Earth. The violence was not without its tragic consequences. One of the most famous instances of such an encounter occurred in the 1960s, when a group of Indian Navy personnel, sent to establish contact and provide food and aid to the tribe, were greeted by a rain of arrows and forced to retreat. Other expeditions, some of which involved anthropologists or scientists eager to study the tribe's way of life, were also met with hostility. It became clear that the Sentinelese had no interest in being discovered or integrated into the modern world. In fact, they seemed to view outsiders as a threat to their way of life, a perception that was not entirely unfounded given the colonial history of the region. The Indian government, over time, began to acknowledge and respect the sovereignty of the Sentinelese. In 1996, after another failed contact attempt, the government officially declared North Sentinel Island a restricted area. The move was part of a broader effort to protect the island's indigenous peoples and preserve their traditional way of life. The Sentinelese were, by then, no longer considered merely an anthropological curiosity, but a people whose autonomy and right to live free from outside interference had to be respected. Laws were enacted prohibiting travel to the island and even prohibiting the flying of aircraft over it, a rare but necessary measure to protect the tribe from the potentially devastating effects of contact with the outside world. Despite the government's efforts, stories of the Sentinelese continue to captivate the imaginations of people around the world. One of the most well-known and tragic stories to emerge in recent years was that of an American missionary named John Allen Shaw, who, in 2018, attempted to make contact with the tribe. Shaw had long harbored a desire to bring Christianity to the Sentinelese, and, ignoring the laws protecting the island, he made a perilous journey to the island. Upon arrival, he was immediately attacked by the tribe, and he was later found dead on the shore. His death was a stark reminder of the tribe's unyielding resistance to outside influence and the dangers of trying to impose one's beliefs on a group that has thrived for millennia without any external interference. The story of North Sentinel Island is, in many ways, a story of resilience. The Sentinelese have survived in isolation for thousands of years, living off the land, hunting, fishing, and gathering in ways that would be familiar to our distant ancestors. They are one of the last groups to live without the influence of agriculture, modern tools, or the accoutrements of civilization. Their survival is a testament to the strength and adaptability of the human spirit, and their way of life stands as a powerful reminder of what humanity once was before the advent of cities, technology, and globalization. Today, the Sentinelese continue to live much as they have for millennia, rejecting any attempts at contact or interference from the outside world. They remain one of the few remaining examples of a truly pre-modern society, a living window into the past. The island itself is a place of paradox, a site of profound human history, yet one that remains shrouded in mystery. We know little about the Sentinelese beyond the scant glimpses that we've been allowed, and what we do know is often filtered through the lens of outsiders, scientists, journalists, and adventurers who have ventured too close to the island and paid the price. As the world continues to change, and as the forces of globalization and climate change continue to reshape the planet, the fate of North Sentinel Island remains uncertain. The island is a fragile ecosystem, vulnerable to the effects of rising sea levels, storms, and other environmental threats. The Sentinelese, however, have weathered the passage of time and remain as resolute as ever in their rejection of the outside world. In many ways, they embody the endurance of humanity's early ancestors, living in a way that few people on Earth can even begin to comprehend. Their continued existence is both a marvel and a mystery, a reflection of what once was, and what might have been, had humanity chosen a different path. The story of North Sentinel Island is not just the story of a people isolated from the world, it is a reminder of what it means to be human. The Sentinelese, with their arrows and their distrust of the outside world, represent a part of humanity that has been lost to history, one that lives in harmony with nature, and troubled by the complexities of modern life. In a world that often seems to be defined by division, conflict, and technological advancement, the Sentinelese stand as a symbol of resilience, autonomy, and the enduring power of the human spirit. Though the island may remain shrouded in mystery, it is clear that the Sentinelese are not merely relics of the past, but a living testament to the diversity of human existence. They are a reminder that even in the face of modernity, there are still places where the old ways endure, and where the rhythms of life move according to ancient patterns that have been handed down through generations. The story of North Sentinel Island is still being written, and it remains one of the most fascinating chapters in the history of humanity. The tribe, though often misunderstood, has held steadfast to its way of life for thousands of years, and in doing so, has become a symbol of resistance to the encroachment of the modern world. Their future remains uncertain, but as long as they continue to live on their island, their story will remain a part of the shared human narrative. And so, the story of North Sentinel Island continues, untouched by time and the outside world. If you want to uncover more hidden corners of our planet's untold stories, don't forget to subscribe and stay curious.